welcome back to my channel, and in today's video we're going to start off with something simple. So instead of baking, I'm going to show you guys how to create decorations using fondant, and we're going to use as minimal tools as possible. So before we get started with the video, here are some things you'll need. So number one, most important, fondant. For me, I'm using white pre-made fondant, which I'm gonna add food coloring to. Number two, the food coloring. Obviously, if you're buying pre-colored fondant, you don't have to worry about this step. But for me, I'm gonna use blue, pink, red, and green. And in this video, I'm gonna teach you guys how to make flowers, leaves with the fondant. So you will need a rolling pin and also a surface to work on. Another thing that's very important is to have icing sugar. If you don't have that, you can always use powdered sugar. This is to make sure that the fondant doesn't stick on the surface you're working with or on your hands, because when you keep working with fondant, it does get sticky. So that's something to keep in mind. And obviously, if you want, you can use gloves. So that's about it. And let's get on with the video. I'm going to begin by adding color to the fondant. So to the side, I have 4 handfuls of white fondant just set aside, as well as some extra white fondant left to use for later. So we're going to just start by taking one of this chunk of fondant and just rolling it. Also, if the fondant seems to get sticky, just take the icing sugar, a bit of it, and put it on your hands and mix it with that. Because the more you work with fondant, because of it gets stickier because of the heat that's transferred from your hands into the fondant itself. And now that you have it close to round, you can just press it slightly, so like so that it's a little bit flatter. And then take one of the colors, so I'm using red right now, and just put a very slight amount in. And then just fold it in like so, and then stretch it out. Kind of work with it as if it's Play-Doh, because you really want to mix in the color. And yes, working with food coloring like this does get messy, so if you guys want, you can always use gloves. And as you can see, the color is starting to show up, so we're just going to keep mixing. And if you're using a paste for a food coloring paste, those tend to have a really strong color. Whereas if you're using liquid food coloring, they're a bit lighter, I guess, because they're dissolved almost. So the amount you put in a paste might require you to put twice the amount when you're using liquid, so that you get the same color. So currently it's getting sticky, so I'm just going to take a bit of icing sugar, pop it onto my hand, rub my hands together so that it's kind of on there as if you were applying powder, and then just start working with the fondant again. So I'll just finish these up, and I'll be back. Okay, so I've finished and I'm back. As you can see, it's nice and pink. So I'm gonna just set some of this aside. So I'm just gonna take about half of it off, put it to the side, and then with this half, I'm gonna take more of the red food coloring paste and add it so that we can get a darker color. So this will really help get help when you're creating decorations because you can have more than one shade to the fondant. So that's something I really like to work with, especially when I'm making flowers. I create like around 3 to 4 different shades so that I can create an ombre flower, and I will probably just insert an image right about here. So just so that you guys can have an idea, and I will be back after I finish mixing this. So I just finished creating 2 different tones. As you can see, there's a huge difference in the color. So I'm going to repeat this step that I just did once more with this darker color to create an even darker red, and I'll be back. So right over here I have the 3 different shades I've created using the red food coloring, and I'm going to try and see, and I'm going to try and make a 4th that's even darker, because right here we have finally gotten the really bright red rose color. So I'm going to see if I can get it a bit darker. If not, we're working with these 3 with the reds, and then I'm going to go make pink, blue, and green. So I'll try one more layer and see if it works, and I'll be back. So I just finished creating the 4th color. So here is a quick view of the 4 colors I have. So now that we're done with the reds, I'm going to go move on and do the same with the pink. So I'm going to create 4 shades for the pink, 3 for the blue, and just 1 shade for the green. So I'm going to use a smaller amount for the green color. So I'll be back when I've finished all of these. So I've finished adding all the colors to the fondant. So I'm just going to give you a quick look at all the shades I have. So this is starting from the lightest pink, going darker. And then we have the reds. That's in the pink. These are the 4 reds. And then back here we have the blues and the green. So as you guys know, my channel is really about therapeutic bakings. So I kind of just wanted to explain to you guys why I chose the activity of creating fondant decorations. And I just wanted to teach you guys something new. So basically the reason why I chose to teach how to decorate with fondant is because baking is known to stimulate the senses. So especially when you're working with fondant, the feeling, the textures, and the sounds that while baking actually stimulate our senses, which increases the number of feel-good endorphins in our body, which overall helps leave us in a happier mood than before. Another reason why I chose this activity is because it's really meditative, and you're really zoned in on this one task of creating this one decoration. And because if it being a simple and repetitive activity, you actually get this calming and meditating effect a lot more than you would in other baking activities. And furthermore, baking also helps you master mindfulness, and at the same time it helps ease away the presence of any sad thoughts. In an article I read titled "Psychologists Explain the Benefits of Baking for Other People," Donna Pincus quoted that when you're baking, you're not spending time ruminating over your thoughts, and it is known that rumination leads to depression and sad thoughts. So if you're doing something productive, it really helps. And the nice thing about baking is that you have such a tangible reward at the end that can feel very beneficial to not only others but yourself as well. So I really hope you guys learned something from this little session, I guess, and that you guys really enjoy making the fondant. So tell me how your experience with making fondant was down in the comments below, and I'd love to hear more about it. But let's get on with the video. Now that I have all the colors set, I'm gonna use this wooden surface, add some powdered sugar or icing sugar on top of it so that the fondant doesn't stick. And then with the rolling pin, I'm going to take the green fondant and we're going to create some leaves. So I'm just going to start out by rolling this out. And then just like so that it's about 1/4 of an inch thick. It doesn't have to be perfect, just an estimate. And also be sure to keep changing the side when you're rolling so that it doesn't stick to the surface or the pin. Okay, so now that I have the fondant nice and flat, I'm gonna take a butter knife and just gonna create a rough leaf shape. So it doesn't really have to be perfect. So I'll just show you guys an example. So I'm just gonna create a rough leaf-like shape to it. It really doesn't have to be anything that particular. So like this is one example. We're gonna work on it later, but just getting rough shapes is good enough for now. I finished cutting up these pieces, and now I'm just gonna quickly make sure that they're not sticky. And then using my butter knife, I'm just gonna create a soft line in the center of the butter knife, and creating a line so that it's the spine of the leaf. So you can just do it however you like. Also, a great way to make sure that it doesn't move while you're doing this is to hold it on either end. I'm just gonna leave this one as it is. Now, using your finger, just press on the sides like so to kind of give it a rougher edge. So kind of just work with it like that, making the edges a bit thinner so that it gives it a more natural look. And if you want, you can cut off pieces that seem weird or that you just don't want. So as you can see, it's really bendy. And then so that it has a more moving look to it, I'm just gonna set it off like hanging out like that so that when it dries like this and I can apply it onto a cake like so. Now I'm just gonna work with the rest of them and do the same exact thing, and I will be back. So I've just finished doing all of my leaves, so now I'm gonna just set it to the side and start working on creating the flowers. So we're gonna work with the pink and the red fondant. So we're gonna start off with pink. So, and then also, as I mentioned before, I kept some of the white to the side. So I'm gonna take some of that, a very small amount, you don't really need much. And then I'm just gonna take just enough to create a small circle like so. I don't know if you guys can see it. So just a small amount. And then we're just gonna press it down, flatten it like that with just using your thumb. It doesn't have to be perfect. And now with this, you're just gonna roll it like so, wrap it around itself like that. So this is our base of our rose. Now we're gonna take the lightest pink that we have And keeping this to the white to the side, we're just gonna press the pink down and then take the pink that we have pressed, and then we're just gonna wrap it around the white, like so. Now I'm just gonna go ahead and just create small circles with all of these colors. So just like 2 to 3 of each color is enough for creating one flower. So then I'm just gonna go ahead and do that and press them out so that they look like petals, and I will be back. So I finished creating the little petals for all of the colors with pink, and now I'm just gonna continue wrapping it around the bud that we have. So it's just the light movement, just wrapping it around each other, and then make sure that when each petal is at a different position, really. As you can see, it's already starting to form. So I'm gonna go ahead and add one more petal over here, like so. And then just keep working with it, going from the lightest to the darkest. So this is my second lightest color. Then you're just gonna keep working with that. Just wrapping it around each time. So that, and also try to take the smoothest side that you have facing upwards so that the petal can have a smoother look to it. Like so. And also if it's not sticking, just pinch it down here. Like that. Because in the end, we're just gonna be cutting off that bottom part. So now just keep working with this until you are done with the flower. So now that I'm done with it, I pinched off the bottom so that there's not too much excess. And I'm just gonna slowly lay it down so that it can flatten itself at the bottom. Or I'm just gonna press at it more at the bottom so that it really sticks, like so. And then making sure that the petals are moving outwards. And there we have it, a flower. So now I'm gonna go ahead and create one with the reds as well. And honestly, you guys can make as many as you want. And these decorations can go on top of cupcakes, cakes, desserts, as much as you like. If you're someone who really likes sugar, you can eat it plain. I personally can't, it's too sweet for me. But honestly, they are amazing decorations to put on top. And the process of making these decorations is really calming because you focus on that one thing itself. So I'm gonna go ahead and make the red, and then I'll be back. Hey guys, I'm back and I've finished my red rose. So here are the 2 flowers I have created. I will just give you a close-up. So there we have the 2 roses I have made. The leaves that I've created. I've also tried to give them shapes when they dry, so that way they've dried like this, and they give a bit more of motion onto the cake and it looks more realistic. So that's it for today's video, and I really hope you guys enjoyed. And when you try this out, if you try it out, please let me know how it went for you down in the comments below. And also, I hope you learned something new through this video.